All right, news break coming in. China continues to blame India once again for the tensions which are escalating at the border. Political counselor of Chinese embassy in India, Li Ya, has now said that on June 18th, Indian troops crossed the Sikkim section of China-India boundary, triggering a close-range face-off. He further added that the section is delimited by the convention between China and Great Britain relating to Tibet and Sikkim in 1990. Listen in.
On June 18, Indian border troops crossed the Sikkim section of China-India boundary, triggering a close-range face-off. Actually, this section is delimited by the convention between China and Great Britain relating to Tibet and Sikkim in 1890. In essence, China's territorial sovereignty has been undermined by the Indian border troops. The Indian border troops pulled back to the Indian side of the boundary unconditionally and immediately.
All right, I want to bring in my colleague Anand, who's joining us from Beijing. We also have Sudhir Ranjan Sen, editor, India Today. He's also going to be giving us perspective on this. You know, Anand, the rhetoric was always so strong between China and India when it has come to especially border skirmishes. But this is unprecedented. You've had, political appointments like the defense minister in India. We've seen the PLA commenting on it. So clearly things are reaching a crescendo.
That's right, Preeti. I think unprecedented is a word you used, and that's absolutely correct. In fact, what the political counselor has said is in keeping with what the Chinese Foreign Ministry has been saying here in Beijing, which is that in their view, this is a China-Bhutan issue, and India crossed the agreed-upon border in Sikkim. Obviously, Bhutan and India say, well, China triggered this by building a road into Bhutan. So by the important thing to remember, Preeti, is that by making repeated, almost daily public statements, the worry is that China is closing the space to de-escalate and for all sides to find a way out of this standoff, especially with Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping set to see each other. Well, we don't know if they're meeting separately, but they will see each other in Hamburg in 1 day's time. So the question is what China is trying to achieve by these repeated public statements, which some would say are narrowing the space for de-escalation.
Well, I just hope that meeting that we yet don't know whether they're going to be meeting on the sidelines at Hamburg will happen between the India and Chinese counterpart. Stay with me, Anand. Let's also bring in Sudhir Ranjan Sen, editor India Today, in this conversation. You know, Sudhir, let's just look at how things are playing out. You've had the Indian defense minister make a very strong statement. You've had retaliation coming in from China. The kind of language that is being used is unprecedented.
Yes, I mean, we've seen standoffs. It's not that we have not seen standoffs, because mind you, the India-China border is it's one of the most disputed, but it's one of the most peaceful borders that you can ever have. And we've seen these kind of standoffs, but you never had, these kind of, noise coming from both sides, and especially so China or the defense minister reacting in such a way. So as Anand, as Anand was saying, that more noise or the more, saber rattling that is there, it more or less closes the area to maneuver, and this is one part that is slightly worrying. Pretty.
All right. Sudhir, appreciate you joining us. Anand's giving us a bit of breaking news because the saber rattling that we are talking about is seeming to be also now backed with at least posturing in terms of high altitude drills. News coming in that the PLA Armored Brigade is holding a high altitude drill with the most advanced tanks. China's media reported Thursday amidst an ongoing standoff at the Doklam Plateau that the PLA's Western Theatre Command recently sent an armored brigade military drill at 5,100 meters above sea level for the first time. The drill also included the PLA's most advanced battle tanks, the Type 96B. The Global Times reported, citing an official Xinhua report. The reports have not mentioned when the test took place, but the Global Times reported it on Thursday in an apparent signaling to India in a report headlined, "India urges to drop delusion of military strength." Anand is breaking this news for us from Beijing, and he's joining us live. Anand, now clearly with all the words, the kind of language that we're seeing, we're also seeing this kind of posturing that is involved. Earlier on, Sudhir, our editor, had also broken the news of submarines, Chinese submarines being spotted in the Indian Ocean, and now word of this coming in.
That's right, Preeti. And what Sudhi's reporting also underlined is that it's not just talk. The worry is that there's also things happening on the ground this time. And clearly, what we saw in the Indian Ocean was also timed along with the troubles we're seeing this past 1 month. And today, the Global Times reporting, we must stress that we don't know when this drill took place. But what is significant is it was reported today for the first time in the Chinese press, saying that China's most advanced tank was for the first time tested in a drill at high altitude by the PLA Western Command, which of course is responsible for the Indian border security as well. So the timing is obviously aimed at India. We don't know when it took place. But as Sudhi also said, this really doesn't help the situation by ratcheting it up, the public statements and the public rhetoric. It just makes it all the more harder to achieve a climb down.
All right, appreciate you joining us, gentlemen. We're going to keep coming back to you for more updates on that story.